Let me formally start it again and welcome to the today webinar on digital tech startup economy and market trends 2019 and onward. And this is Indian focus presentation. I'm Sumant Parimal, Chief Analyst of IDEO Research at Inogress and happen to be an ex-IDC analyst and also a partner at Star Consulting Services Inc. USA. And this webinar is typically for highlighting what kind of startup economy globally is emerging, and then coming down to India, how the startup economy and particularly the digital tech startup economy is emerging in India, how it has done so far, and what are the predictions for next coming years, And if you are working into a startup space, I think, and if you are an entrepreneur and a tech professional or any professional thinking to start and go into digital tech startup space, then I think this webinar is going to be very, very relevant for you. Even if you are an investor, this webinar will give you an outlook of what kind of technology sectors are getting attention in the market, what kind of startups are getting funded, what are the typical startups getting founded and succeeded in the market. So all those kind of overview will be getting in this presentation. So I'm moving to the next slide. I'll start with a global perspective here because, the tech startup space is not only limited to one country or one specific region, rather there's a boom of tech startup across the world. And if I have to consolidate a list of top 50 cities where digital startups are, the ecosystems are, hitting up or already present. So these are the top 50 cities of the world. So these has been ranked by one of the agencies called Valuer.ai. So if you see in this list, the Berlin, Germany tops in the list of these are the best suited cities. These are like not the largest startup city. These are the best suited or best preferred or best liked city for the startup, for any new startup launch. So in second list you can see Tel Aviv and Helsinki, then Stockholm, then Bangalore. Our own Bangalore comes at the 5th number. Then London, then Boston, then Copenhagen, then Amsterdam, and San Francisco, which is also like the entire Bay Area, and Melbourne, Singapore, Austin, Toronto, Vancouver, Munich, Warsaw. So the list is long, and Seattle is also there in US. New York is also there. So if you see the US, so you have 6 cities of US in this list. And if you see the India, so I think only one Indian city is finding a place in this top 50 list. So I mean, so India has to catch a lot, in terms of its more number of cities to getting figured into top 50 tech startup favorite city. Okay, so with this overview, let me go to the most talked about the startup destinations or startup location is Silicon Valley in California, US. So let me have a very broad overview of how the tech startup system has emerged in Silicon Valley area. So it has been rated as highest innovative city as it generated largest number of patents. And over 1/4 of the world unicorn startups originates from Silicon Valley. And it's the largest startup ecosystem globally, valued at $279 billion USD, and houses 47% of all startups in the US. So it's not only largest in the world, but even if you consider from the US perspective, it houses 47% of all startups of the US. Last year alone, startups collected 22 billion in venture capital with 4,400 millions plus mega deals, and it saw 650 plus M&A transaction deal in year 2018. So these are some of the metrics which I am walking you through here to give an idea what is the current status of Silicon Valley as a startup, tech startup destination, or say hub. Now coming to the next slide. If you see this plot, this has been plotted on quid.app, box.com. If you this plot where it has been plotted, what are the hot tech areas which in which the tech startups got venture into in the Silicon Valley areas. So if you see the 17% of the tech startups in Silicon Valley areas happen to be in the fintech area. And this fintech area comprises of mobile payments, loyalty platform solutions, crowdfunding solutions, trading and investment solutions, commercial and real estate property management solution, and P2P lending solutions. Similarly, blockchain and cryptocurrency-based fintech solutions. So fintech is in Silicon Valley area. Fintech is one of the major tech focus area for the startups. Similarly, ad tech, including CRM and marketing automation, and other advertisement related, say online or mobility based advertisement related solutions. Gaming and entertainment that attracted 7.2% of the tech startups. So it happens to be mobile and online games in AR, VR kind of applications in startups also. Okay, so next area is AI and NLP, that is natural language processing, which includes the entire AI-based startups and personal assistants or virtual assistant kind of startups like bots-based solutions, or say the chart-based solution, autonomous chart agents or autonomous virtual agents kind of solutions. So cyber security also emerged as one of the key tech startup area in Silicon Valley, and then IoT and smart city, another not hot sector. Similarly, medtech and life sciences, one more hot sector which we have seen in form of the startups in Silicon Valley area. So in nutshell, this gives you a feeling of what kind of technologies startups are actually taking forward, in forms of their product and solution launch or even services launch. So coming to the next slide, what are the investment, if you compare the investments which came into tech startups in Silicon Valley area versus other tech startup cities or hubs. So if you see, Silicon Valley attracted highest investments as far as the startups are concerned. And see, if you see the counts of investment, it attracted among 10 investments among 1552 investment listed here, and spread across Silicon Valley, London, Paris, Berlin, Tel Aviv. And as far as the investment amounts are concerned, if you see, Silicon Valley attracted 22 billion of investments. So if you see what are the sectors which grab most of the investments in Silicon Valley particularly, then you see here, you can see the fintech is here, right? So fintech attracted highest investment here, then followed by smart cities, and followed by the medtech, followed by AI, followed by edtech, followed by cyber security, and followed by, so these are the different which all technology sector got maximum investment. That's a perspective of Silicon Valley. Now let me go to the next slide. So if you see this slide, then it will show that in last one decade, what are the top technology area which got pursued by various startups in Silicon Valley. So if you see in 2017-18, 2017-18, most of the startups are into this area, the blockchain and NLP and conversational assistants, and so the most hot technologies are these technology like blockchain and NLP, the natural language processing, which is AI based, and conversational assistant, which are also AI based. And then in couple of previous years, a lot of hot technology investments were happening across IoT and telecommunication, autonomous vehicles, and connected vehicles. And before that, most of the investments were kind of trending in medical tech and healthcare and CRM kind of stuff. So, and before that, we have seen the mobile payment gateways and loyalty and all those kind of application picking up in the startup domain of Silicon Valley. So this will give a perspective of Silicon Valley. Now, after introducing you to Silicon Valley trends, now I will come to the trends in India, for the tech startup trends in India. So if you see a quick snapshot of Indian tech startup ecosystem, so in last 5 years, you have seen that overall growth of Indian tech startup is hovering around 12 to 15%. So this is the overall growth, right? And if you see the number of tech startups added in 2018, so around 1,200 plus tech startups got added in last year itself. And if you see number of tech unicorns added, unicorns are nothing else, the startups having reached a valuation of $1 billion USD and above. So unicorns, if you see, the India has around more than 8 unicorns, and by the time I'm reading it, the unicorns, Indian unicorns, have touched around 11 in number. So a total funding received by tech startups in 2018 till September was I've seen more than 100% year-on-year growth. So this is the good number, 100% year-on-year growth. An increase in number of advanced tech startups since 2017. So nowadays, advanced tech startups are also known as deep tech. Deep tech. So deep techs are also picking up in India. So, and 40,000 new direct jobs got created. So total base, if you see the direct job and indirect job ratio, here you can see that is in this slide. So tech startups incepted outside the main metro, rising from 35% to 40% to 45% also. So the tier 2 and tier 3 cities are now seeing growth as well as the tech startups are concerned. Incubators and accelerators are also growing, and if you see in last year itself, India added around 10 plus incubators, and having seen the growth of 11% year on year. So coming to the next slide, if you see where we are globally, so we are sitting around the third position. So as far as the startup economy is concerned, with respect to other global economies like US, so US is first in the startup ecosystem, followed by United Kingdom, followed by India and Israel. So around India and Israel are around of the same startup economy size. That is coming at the third slot. But the here real challenge for India is the China, right? So China is picking up at very, very fast speed, if you see. So though right now it's showing a bit lesser than size with India, but it is going very fast. So our challenge is to retain. First challenge is to retain our third slot, and then next challenge is to even migrate to the topmost slot. So if you say Indian startup story, it's 100 plus billion plus value created in last 6 years, and a startup ecosystem grown by 270%. So a tremendous growth we have seen in startup economic in India. Now, when we go to the next slide, what are the region for the growth? So main region is like, if you see the GDP growth of the country, so country GDP is hovering around 8.2%. And internet users have gone up. Year increase in total startup funding. So funding, the fund accessibility has also gone up. Use of advanced technology, the deep tech I was talking about. So the deep tech startups are going up, like startups in AI, ML, IoT, AR, VR, blockchain, 3D printing. Okay, but I even focus on B2B solutions. So the 43% share of B2B started versus 40% in 2017. So of B2B share is going up. So B2B is like bulk orders. So they add in the growth of the company. Upswing in growth stage funding. So that is like later stage funding. So earlier, like we were seeing that a lot of startups were getting started with the seed funding, but they were not able to get later stage funding, so growth funding. So that has been improved here. And improving support structure. Support means like you are seeing a lot of government policies, a lot of incubators, accelerators, mentorship program. So those support ecosystem is improving in India. So like a Startup India program is there. In next few slides, we will discuss that also. So that is also causing growth in the startup ecosystem in India. Similarly, so adoption of advanced technology in B2B startups and improving support structure are driving growth in Indian tech startup ecosystem. Indian tech startup growth sectors, if you see the enterprise softwares, which goes into B2B sector, is continue here you can see it's contributing maximum. And fintech is next. Like in the US, we discussed the Silicon Valley slide where fintech was maximum contributing towards the startup growth. But in India, fintech is coming at second number. So marketplace like e-commerce is coming at third number at 12%. And similarly, health tech, ed tech, logistic and transportation, industrial and maintenance and consumer software, food tech, HR tech. So these are the hot sectors in which Indian startups are starting up. And if you see industry verticals of growth, we spoke about the highest growth we are seeing in enterprise software, and then fintech, then followed by marketplace, health tech, edtechs. And so these are some of the growth drivers why the B2B softwares are enterprise software going, because now there are many SaaS-based startups solving enterprise problem, including the SMB problems. Earlier, the SMBs were not touched. So that's the reason now more and more SaaS solutions are emerging for catering to SMB market. So growth is happening in the enterprise segment. Similarly, the government push on financial inclusion and innovative tech accelerating the pace of payments. Like you have in past few years, you've seen how the UPI and BHIM kind of payment initiative got initiated, and once the Digital India kicked off. So these are another region for driving the higher growth in fintech sector. At the same time, internet penetrations are going up. So India has added more than 500 million users. So tech platforms to connect doctors, that is the growth of health tech. So education tech is also increasing, growing. Okay, so in nutshell, 50% of the total tech startups are coming either from the enterprise software area, from the fintech area, or marketplace, or health tech together. So chunk of your startups are in these sectors, right here. Now going to the next slide, hot tech technology pursued by Indian tech firms. So if you see data and analytics, most favorite technologies for the startups, Indian startups. Then followed by IoT here, then AI, then AR, VR, blockchain. Blockchain is still picking up. It's still at 5%. So, but it will pick up. Okay, so now data analytics. If you see, the growth rate is maximum here. 18 to 20%, Internet of Things, 15 to 17%, artificial intelligence is the maximum growth rate, though artificial intelligence is only 24% of the startups, but if you see growth rate is maximum here. AR, VR is also picking. If you see the growth rate of blockchain, yes, because the blockchain is picking up only since last 1.5 years. So the growth rate is highest here, greater than 100%, but though it is occupying only 5% of the total startup population. So this in near future, what will happen, this pie will also go up, and this growth rate may sustain like this, or because the pie itself is increasing, this may decrease little bit. So key segments are listed here. The artificial intelligence, data analytics, IoT are witnessing faster adoption across industry verticals. Okay, and 120% year-on funding growth of AI startups, over 150 million invested in 2018 in AI startups alone. 500% year-on-year growth of blockchain funding. So funding, see, the blockchain itself grown by the growth rate of blockchain based startups is all by 100%. But if you see the funding has gone up by 500% year on year, because this is the new sector. Earlier it was less invested, or very few startups were in the blockchain, but now they are coming in the faster pace. So advanced technology startups pool is spending rapidly at 40% CAGR. So if you combine the overall, the CAGR rate of advanced tech or deep tech, you can say it is hovering around 40%. Highest growth in Indian tech unicorns. So this is another silent point I want to highlight. The unicorns, like the startups, take a startup whose market valuation has crossed $1 billion USD mark. So last year we had the privilege of seeing around 11 Indian tech startups entering into unicorn category, and some of them are like listed here. You are known to Oyo, Swiggy, Udaan, and Paytm, Policy Bazaar, So and some of these firms which are likely to be unicorn in 2019 have been already reached the unicorn status, like Practo, Buildesk. So in total, around 11 unicorns we boast of in India. So one of the unicorns here shown in detail how come what the life cycle of funding it has seen. And last year it got two tranches of funding. First thing, the Series B funding it got, and then Series C funding of $225 million US it got. So done. So Udaan is nothing but a B2B marketplace which connects the trader, wholesaler, retailer, and manufacturer on a single platform. And its investor is Lightspeed Venture partner DST Global. It was founded in 2016. So in 2 years itself, you have seen that it has entered into Unicorn Club. So which is like a big achievement. If you see Indian tech unicorns versus global unicorns, so US has maximum population of unicorns, followed by China and India. And if you see the time it takes to unicorn in India is like average time for unicorn in India is around 5 to 6 years here, but in US it is 6 to 8 years. In China it is the lowest, that is 4 to 6 years. So I mean, on average, Indian if an Indian enterprise is going towards unicorn, so it is actually as competitive as its global peer as far as the timing of entry in the unicorn club is concerned. So if you see this headline, Indians have founded more unicorns startup in US than in India. So that means though officially we own only 18 to 20 unicorns, but if you count the other unicorns present in USA and founded by India, then it may be higher than any other country. So if you see funding trends in 2018 in Indian startup ecosystem, Indian tech startups raised 11 billion in funding across 743 deals with more than 637 Indian startups raising funding in 2018. So Bangalore tech startup received 4.75 funding in year 2018. So almost, if you see, almost 40% to 50% of tech startup funding being only, alone backed by one city, that is Bangalore. So Bangalore that is the region. Bangalore has emerged one of the biggest startup hub, not only in India but across the globe. If you see the next slide, Indian tech startup funding trend vertical wise, if you see the most of the funding last year it received in travel domain, like you have companies here like Oyo Rooms, okay, then Holiday Inn, Head Out. Okay, so travel received around 24% of funding, and marketplace like Paytm Mall, Udaan, Grofers, they all also received on total 24% of the funding. Fintech received around 14% of funding. Okay, so food tech also received around 8% of funding, which happens to be Swiggy, DG Diner kind of companies. Health tech received 8% of the funding, which have been NetMat, Cure.fit. Okay, so this is a snapshot of which sector the funding were maximum. Okay, so you may be getting one idea like what all sectors are attractive to the investors. Now, going to the next slide, who are the active investors in Indian tech startup ecosystem? If you see the early stage and seed stage and late stage kind of segmentation, then investors in seed stage are Y Combinators. They entered into 8 deals. They funded 8 startup companies last year. Bloom Ventures also funded 8 startups, and Axelor funded 6 startups. Omidior funded 5 startups. Brand Capital funded 5 startups. So early stage, you have that separate kind of investors here. The one prominent one is the SL Partner. The SL Partner funded 16 deals last year. Sequoia Capital is one of the quite popular one in Indian startup space, and they have funded 13 ventures. And IDG Ventures also funded 12 last year. Okay. Benexit funded 10, a Safe Partner funded 10. Now, late stage has increased. Late stage funding trend has increased in India. So, Sequoia Capital has closed 9 deals, Safe Partner 4 deals, Brand Capital Front League, Lightspeed Ventures 3 deals, DST Global 3 deals. Okay, so this is the nutshell what all venture capitals are prominent in India. Similarly, what all business models were prominent in Indian tech startups. If you see, there's the developing innovative products for global markets. So global market is one of the focus for Indian startups. Rental economy, this is the ecosystem, this is the business model which we are very prevalent in Indian ecosystem, startup ecosystem. Then subscription model also worked in Indian startups like premium juices, grooming products, video content, ability, daily essential, online diet plan. So on-demand kind of business model also got popular in Indian startups. So these are like instant loan dispersal, appointment booking, food ordering, P2P payments, on-demand analytics. So some of the startups are shown in these categories. Okay, here. Now, going to the next slide, if you see hot spots of Indian tech startups, so I didn't mention the Bangalore got the first slot as far as the tech startups in India is concerned. It houses 25% of the total tech startup population of India, followed by Delhi and NCR region. It houses 21% of the tech startup population in India. And third slot is for Mumbai, which houses 14% of tech startups in India. And then, as I said, that tier 2 and tier 3 cities are now also emerging, like like Kochi and like Chennai. Though Chennai is a metro city, but as far as the startup economy is concerned, it is still considered as tier 2 city. And similarly, you have Pune and Chandigarh, and in Indore, these all are emerging. The one more region I want to highlight that towards the growth in the Indian tech startup sector is basically due to impetus of innovation and startups programs launched by Government of India and to some extent various state governments also. So one of the main program couple of main program I want to discuss here is the AIM, this Atal Innovation Mission. Okay, so Atal Innovation Mission objective is to promote innovation and entrepreneurship across the country, and it has the target to establish around 20 to 30 Atal Thinking Laboratories in various schools across the state, and the Atal Incubators promoting entrepreneurship in our city and industry. So like these programs are running in a school as well as in a university. School as well as in universities and industry. So providing a grant up to 10 crores to successful applicant for setting up greenfield incubators or scaling up existing ones. So similarly, you must have listened about the Startup India program. So this is another impetus which is coming to the startup economy. So Startup India is for building up a strong ecosystem of conducive for the growth of a startup business. 19-point Startup India action plan is like several opening of the several incubation centers and easier patent filing, tax exemptions up to the INR of 10,000 crore corpus fund. So another impetus is coming from Digital India. So the Digital India objective is to create 1 trillion of digital economy by 2025 and overall 10 trillion of Indian GDP by 2032. So these are some of the growth drivers for the Indian startup ecosystem. Now with this, we are coming towards end of the presentation. You have any Q&A, you can write me here, or you can also write me on my send me offline on my email IDs sumant@startcsi.com, sumant_parimal@innovates.com. So with this, we are coming towards end of the presentation. You have any question, then you can unmute your mic and you can ask right now, and otherwise, as suggested, you can send me an mail also, right? Any questions so far?